Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with Dino DeNicolo. How's it going?
Good. Waking up.
Yeah. Well, if we're waking up, it's the perfect time for mezcal, right?
Absolutely. Hair of the dog. Bring it on.
Hair of the dog. Did you gig last night?
Yeah. What was last night? Last night was a hotel gig, so a little bit more subdued at the Pinnacle downtown.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we were just talking before rolling. I mentioned that I was looking on your website. You had a few brewery gigs, and you said that they aren't as common as they used to be because they're looking for more covers right now.
Yeah, I found when they
cheers, by the way.
Oh. When they it seems like how do I say it? I'm not directly talking to these brewery owners or these managers, so I don't know what they're thinking. So in a way, I'm assuming what they're thinking. But I've noticed that they'll come out of the gate, let's get musicians in here. And then they'll notice certain rooms want more covers than other rooms. And I respect that because I've done, I don't know how many years of covers in my life. And it's a thing, and it's cool, and it's happy, and it's loving, and it's joyful, and it's great. I just don't do it with my show. So there's less breweries that are open to a full original bass player doing weird stuff. Like, I can't imagine why they'd be not into it.
It's funny you mentioned that. I think it was during the pandemic when because we could only put like 50 fucking people in the room, and everyone had to be social distance. Even the band had to be social distance. And 50 was like on a good day. If like everybody came in, and this is Guilt and Company, obviously.
Yeah.
If everybody came in like the exact right groupings, you could get like 2 here and 4 there, and you could get, I think, maximum like 62 people in the room.
Yes,
but most people showed up as couples because those were the only people going out. People weren't going out with their friends. So typically we'd have like 25 people in the room to 40 max for quite a while. So, I mean, as you remember, we were bringing in only solo acts, occasional duets, because there wasn't enough money being accumulated for the music to actually pay people well more than one person.
Yeah.
And even then, it was a huge cut to the musicians for that time, even when they could get a gig. Not to mention, like, most rhythm sections just didn't play for fucking 2 years.
Oh yeah.
It was the first time I saw you do a solo gig. And it was at I think it was at the height of the pandemic, like when we were open, but it was still heavily regulated. And I saw you going on stage, and I was like, just him and a bass. I've never fucking seen a solo bass act before.
Was that the first time you saw me do that?
It was the first time I'd seen you solo. Do it solo. And you commented on it. you were like, I bet a bunch of people in here are wondering, like, what the fuck is this guy doing with a bass guitar up on stage? I'm just gonna do my thing, and hopefully you'll like it. And you killed it. It was such a cool show.
Thanks, brother.
And I've seen you do that many times now.
Thanks, man.
And having watched that, now when I see you play with a live band, I tune in to much more what you're doing than I probably ever did before. Yeah. So what? I guess if there's a question attached to it, like, what was the process of you being like, no, fuck it, I'm gonna do solo bass shit, and it's gonna be good.
Okay. Well, sometime around how far back do we go? That's the question, right? Sometime in the 90s, I heard this song by Flea, Chili Peppers. I'm an itty bitty flea.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've... and I heard it, and I thought to myself, oh, that's really cool, man, because it's just Flea and his bass singing, right? And Flea's a killer bass player. As a singer, he is what he is, and it worked for that song, right? But I remember thinking to myself, man, why don't people do more of that? I really love just a voice and a bass it's just so lovely to listen to. And well, it doesn't matter, man voice, woman voice. It's nice, right? So I started doing it, and it sucked. And I knew right away, I'm going to jam nights, and I'm doing these things where I'm playing a song, whether it's a cover song or my song, and it was lacking something. And I didn't for a whole decade. I just didn't know. I experimented all these different musical ideas. I'd go to jam nights trying to be like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. Why does it suck? Because it's like, I know I'm singing in key and I know I'm playing in time. Something ain't right. And I didn't know what it was. So eventually I clued in that somehow within my hands and my mouth, there has to be an imaginary drummer, percussionist.
She was like, fuck it, I'll learn to beatbox.
Yeah, I got to find a way to do this. But you can't always beatbox when you're singing.
Yeah.
So then I started to find out I have to put it in my hands. And I have to put it, if I could put in like a simple bottom end stomp box that does a with my foot. So I started doing this stuff. And as soon as I did that and I went to a jam night, the response from random audience who did or didn't know me was like, whoa, D. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm digging it too. Something's going on here. So I just recorded an album. I just put up a lot of money and hired a really good guy, Ben Kaplan.
Was this the 2008 album?
Yeah, the very first album. That's right.
Yeah.
Walked into what would have been the Farm Studios here in Vancouver, which eventually became a school. Met Garth because he was there and all this cool stuff. Then I recorded the album, and I just recorded the album. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. And it's not like I did it for free. I spent a big chunk of cash and just went for it. Hired a great photo guy, Kevin. He's a heavy duty guy in film. Just did a whole bunch of stuff. Whatever. My money, my thing. I'm just gonna do it. And I did it, and I started getting gigs. Maybe this gig, and it was weird for people, and weird for me, and scary. But
And these were solo gigs?
yeah, it started out as a solo gig with a stomp box that my dad had built. We engineered a thing, and my dad built this stomp box, and I mic'd it up with a D112 and all this stuff. And I started going, wow, I'm actually gigging. I'm getting a gig here and there, and one of the bands I was with at the time, the Irish band, the Town Pants, were really nice enough to take me on tour with them in 2008, and that's where everything just went. I'm working. I'm a working solo bass player guy because I'm playing with them, but they're giving me these gigs opening for them, and all of a sudden I'm touring in New York State and touring in Ontario, and I'm playing gigs in Vancouver, and I'm like, okay, I'm working. I'm not necessarily playing the Coliseum,
Right.
but I'm also doing what I love, and all I'm doing is playing bass and singing my originals. I'll take that,
Yeah.
and that's how it kind of started to happen.
How'd you end up with Uno Mas? You and Kelly have known each other.
Yeah, me and Kel have known each other. Me and the guitarist Kel, we've known each other since I think 99 or 2000, somewhere in there. It was somewhere in there. We argue between ourselves when it was. I think it was like 99 might have been the first gig.
Is that just because arguing to Kelly is like the blood of life?
It's like breathing air. Yes. I love you, Kel.
Yeah. No, nothing but love.
In case you're listening, not that you would take the time to listen to an iPodcast. Okay. I can't burn him if he's not here.
Yeah, exactly. We'll tell him to listen to it. We'll get this segment and we'll get all of our Kelly jabs out right now, and then we'll just
everything I can say about Kelly.
We'll just cut and paste and just like send it to him and be like, we didn't feel right making fun of you without you being there, so we planned it.
I met Kelly by chance because there was the Uno Mas existed before Kelly. So the original question was, how did Uno Mas start? That was the original, how you said that. I originally was playing with a fellow by the name of Ruben Landers, God rest his soul. And Ruben was this very passionate keyboardist. When he'd play, he looked like a skeleton with skin on. Just eating the music, right? And I learned from him that you don't have to be wallpaper when you're playing jazz. Whether it's a sensitive, delicate song or whether it's a passionate, insane song, you can just go nuts, and it's okay. So eventually, God rest his soul, he passed, and we were playing a gig regularly at a venue in Yaletown called Capone's. So, Ruben passed. At the time, Jeff Hamm, the guitarist, and I were playing around music, and we grabbed a drummer, and we kept the remaining gigs that Ruben had, and we finished them off because there was bookings, and we're like, well, we'll play them. The three of us will play them.
Yeah.
So we played them, and we started getting booked, and it didn't take long, a couple of months, and the owner at the time, Rob, goes, well, D, I want to keep booking you guys, and I want to book you for Jazz Fest, but I need a name. Because we didn't have a name. We were just three guys filling in for... Yeah, and I had just come back from Mexico, and, uno más cerveza, por favor. It's all about drinking, right? Like, I have no idea what that's about. Cheers.
Cheers.
And I'm like, well, call it uno más. It was just call it uno más. I don't know.
Yeah.
That'll work. That's where the name came from, and that's how the band started. And eventually Jeff moved away, went back to North Battleford, Saskatchewan with his mom, and to be there with his mom. And Kelly stepped in, and I never thought me and Kelly would ever become the friends that we are now, because he is a cold hard man. No, he wasn't. Kel, I love you, man. It was just he doesn't let you in right away.
Right.
He holds his cards close when he first meets you, and then if you get to know each other, he's one of the best guys.
Those are the best kind of friends because they make you feel like you eearned it.
Yeah, I had to earn it. Well, I had to work hard for that one. But once he's got a heart of gold. He's you wouldn't know it from anybody out there. You meet Kelly the first time, you're like, oh, what? Tell that guy, But then once you get to know him, you're like, wow. Okay.
I think my favorite Kelly moment. We're gonna have to get him to watch it now or listen to it now.
Let's talk about Kelly.
Trevor Tews, who is a friend of both of ours. He's a head sound tech at Guilt. Really talented sound tech. He's been on this show before. He is one of the most ADD people I know. Brilliant mind. He will pick up a new skill. He'll just get bored and be like, I want to learn how to do this. And he'll get it to like passable, like he'll get to the point where he's good at it and then he gets bored and moves on to the next thing. And then there are very few things that he is really passionate about that he sticks with for a long time. But I've seen him do that. I wish I could remember, but the only one I can think of off the top of my head is when he decided that he wanted to learn how to do nunchucks.
That's exactly the moment I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like bringing these nunchucks around, and Kelly's there. He's like, "Oh, I know how to do this," and he just starts whipping out.
Yeah,
the
Kelly
nunchucks.
of all people. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You and Trevor. What?
Trevor sent me the video of Kelly just like whipping around. I don't know what it's called. If doing nunchucks, I don't think that's.
Sure, we'll call it doing nunchucks. Sure, we'll call it that.
I feel like one of those old like boomers in the 90s was like, my kids are doing weed.
My sound man's playing with nunchucks. So is my guitar.
But yeah, Kelly's a gem.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your background musically? Like, did you? Because I know you talked about playing jazz, and Uno Mas is for those of you who haven't seen an Uno Mas show, it's a great show. It's one of the Guilt & Co. staff favorite bands that play there. We all love it. But you guys do, like, for lack of a better term, like jazz covers, I would say, of not jazz tunes.
Sure.
So I guess in terms of the original question, what's your background musically in terms of where you started? I know that you started on keys of some kind of organ or piano.
Yeah, I learned organ as a kid forcibly.
Forcibly, yeah.
It wasn't me wanting to. My sister was taking lessons, so I took lessons as well. It was a 2 for 1, not 2 for 1, but 2 for better deal from the music teacher, and she was awesome in many ways. So I learned organ, didn't care for it, and then somewhere in high school, I needed an elective to fill a space, and there was guitar. And I mean, at the time, I thought guitar, that'll be easy. I'm just taking that. That'll fill my one elective I need to fill. I never clued in guitar was easy because I liked it. I wasn't that quick to understand that. It wasn't until I was literally graduating from high school, one of my situations in life. It's like a fork in the road, right? My girlfriend at the time, Justine Warrington, she goes, D, why would you go into business when you just got Musician of the Year in a class of 400 people? And I didn't know, I didn't get it until that moment, until she said it. And I went, oh, that's a good point. But music is so like, there's no guarantee. And of course, the point is there's no guarantee in life anywhere. Okay. Well, if I go into music, I'm kind of walking into like, I don't know if I'm going to make money. Yeah, well, you're not going to know if you can make money anywhere. Mm-hmm. There's just less likely. I mean, it's a farther throw with the spear to hit your target with music to make, say, a living than it is to go into real estate. You go into real estate, there's a good chance within the first 2 to 3 years you could probably buy a house.
Right.
Because you're making this pile of money. But am I going to be happy? Sorry, am I going to be happy in my soul if I do that? No, I'm not going to be happy in my soul. No, I'll be happy in my soul if I do music. So there's a big fork in the road. And, I had this realization. And I'm going to say this, but we all know this already. You already know this. But this is when it hit me when I was around 18, 19. It hit me, okay, no matter what I do, whether I do real estate, a business, music, whether I make a tequila company, whether I decide to do a furniture company, whatever the hell I do, there's going to be problems.
Right.
It's not going to be smooth. And there's going to be awesome times and poopy times. And there's going to be times where you're like, wow, that was a good deal. I just made a lot of money on that deal. And there's going to be times where you're like, oh, man, I just can't believe I can't afford to. Okay, fine, whatever. There's going to be all of those times. Well, why not do it with music, which I love? Mm-hmm. And that was the turning point. And all of a sudden I started doing music. It didn't support me. It took a while for that to come. I had to do lots of different jobs, like any musician who's starting. You got to do whatever you got to do to do your music.
Yeah. Did you play in lots of different bands before you went and started doing your solo stuff?
Oh yeah.
Did the band circuit?
I've lost count. I don't know. I mean, everything. I've done everything from opera to funk.
Oh yeah.
Everything. All of it. Country. I remember the first country album that I actually get called in to do that. I'm getting paid in Mushroom Studios to play a country album. And I walked in with this stupid attitude, like, I can't stand country. I can't believe I can't believe they hired me for a country album. Okay, fine. And I walk into this country album and I felt so embarrassed.
There's that other part of your head going, you're getting paid to play music, dumbass.
Yeah, you're getting paid to play in Mushroom Studios. Shut up. And I walk in. And I learned right away that actually there's a lot of discipline to play country music well. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, it is horrible.
Yeah.
And there was one particular tune that was just a 3/4 waltz thing. And it was so delicate and so beautiful. I'm like, well, that's a really beautiful song. I kicked myself going, oh my God, this is harder than I thought. Because if I do this line, it intrudes on the melody. I have to just dumb it down, make it round, and I have to be that soft grass in the field feeling. Otherwise, I'm poking people. So I have to be like this delicate thing. And you don't realize that till you're in the moment and realize, oh my God, country music's it's a big deal to get that feeling.
Yeah.
Where you want a pickup truck and a dog and dust and a jean jacket and cigarette smoke. Like to have all... It's hard to get that feeling in the song. It's a big deal.
It's funny. I had Paul Clark on here a few weeks ago, who, he grew up in Chilliwack. He grew up listening to lots of different kinds of music, but country is a big one. And he talks about similar things with his approach to playing country music as a drummer. A lot of people, there's that... I think that for a lot of people, if there's a style of music that they don't like, they oversimplify it. It's just like, oh, punk is just fucking power chords and there's nothing else, right? But the way that you talk about that feeling that you're trying to capture with country, I've heard you talk about music in that fashion many times before, and it's always visceral for you. It's always like you. I feel like I've heard you talk about tapping in to the not the modality and the technique, at least not first, but I've heard you talk about tapping into the sensation of the music.
Yes,
as if it's one of the five senses.
Yes, it's important.
Yeah,
it's important. You see it. Is it Duke Ellington? I think it was Duke Ellington at one point in that jazz series that he did the documentary. You see him play a piece, and you see his hands. Like, yes, he hits the note, but his hands come off the piano. They jump? Yeah, in a certain way that he's aiming for that feeling in the play. And you see it. Keyboardists are the great thing to watch for that, because if you play a keyboard, you realize it's really difficult to get emotion out of a keyboard because it's just hit and a thing rings.
It's not like you can bend a string, right?
Yeah, you can't bend the string. It doesn't matter how off or on you are. Yeah. It's just how much weight did you put? And that emotion is really hard to put into your fingers. It's really hard. So they're really given this ethereal thing. They already have the modes, the melody, the hands, the notes, the time. They already have all that stuff down. Now they got to put this emotional charge in there. Like if it's supposed to be passionate and hard, or if it's supposed to be delicate and soft, like the wind. Like, and yet you'll hear it in a really good keyboardist. They'll do it on a piano, and you're like, how did you do that? That's a piano. Those things are so hard to make emotional, right?
Yeah. Do you still play keys at all?
Not in any way like performance-wise. I know how to generate chords and play melodies and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not in any way going to be like, hey, I can play keyboards. No problem. No.
Yeah, throw me on.
No.
Put me in, coach.
No, I did that there was a cover gig I sat in on, and then I think it was Rob Blackburn. He ended up playing guitar because that's what he was going to do in the song. I'm like, oh, I'll do some keys, right? And I went there and I'm like, well, this hand's useless. I can't do anything with that hand. It's like I haven't played for so long. I just couldn't. Yeah. Just wasn't.
That was always the thing for me. Like my sister is a really talented piano player, and I remember when she moved out. That was, because teenagers bicker, and we always got along, but it was always as you get older, it's sometimes the house gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But I remember when she moved out, the first thing that I noticed was the first thing I was consciously aware of, like, oh, I miss my sister, was because the piano was right next to my bedroom. So she would come in and practice, and I'd be like a strung out 17-year-old, 16-year-old, like waking up the next morning after a night of partying or whatever, be like, and then she'd be like, I'd wake up to her playing the piano, and I remember clocking into that of being like, fuck, there's no piano in the house anymore, and no one else played. My dad and my mom noodled, but like,
you
because you felt it. It's visceral, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Chelsea. She's one of my only regular listeners. So there you go.
Oh, she's so
Chelsea. There you go. You want another one?
I do, but I have to drive after this.
So I will let you
But I can do this.
Help yourself to the bottle, and I will let you regulate.
All right, give me a straw.
Yeah, there you go. Cheers. Where were we?
Cheers.
What's talking about that that sort of visceral approach to, I feel like I've used the word visceral like 10 times in the last 5 minutes.
It's okay.
That emotional approach to music.
Sure.
Where very much you describe the sensation of keys playing for different styles of music, the feeling and the images associated with country music. Is there something that you strive for or that you like to tap into when you're playing your own stuff in terms of those types of ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so when I'm going to try and put this into words. So just be patient while I try and put it into words. Yeah. It may not make sense.
I got a beer right here. I got all day.
Perfect. No, I'm just so I'm in, let's say let me just pick a song. So I got that song in my head. Okay, so I got it. So I know with this song, I'm going to have to feel sunshine. It's called, say it's stronger. I know I'm going to have to feel some sort of rum high. I know I'm going to have to feel the ocean. I know I'm going to have to feel like I need a shower, but I'm wet. I know I need to feel like happy sex. I need to feel all these things when I execute this song. I need to feel that joy. And at the same time, I need to feel that feeling like when you're a kid running on the beach in the ocean. That's a specific feeling, like when you're running on the sand in the oceans. It's a feeling. I'm looking for that feeling when I do this song. So I have to, before I play the song, go there and be like, okay, all these things have to be in this song. Okay. Now, I know that the song is going to have this somewhere inside, even though I'm not going to be playing that. But I need to be feeling that. So I start to feel it. I have to go there. Okay. And every musician knows what I'm talking about. At some point in your life, you're doing this. You're doing this thing where you're like, I got to feel stuff, right? Okay, if I do this correctly and I execute the song correctly and everything's grooving and my time stays there and it doesn't move and I can talk to you and I can play it and I know that's the time and it's not going anywhere and I'm feeling it, I'm like, well, fuck, great. Okay, this shit's happening. Yes! If I'm feeling that, now the audience has a chance at feeling it. But if I'm not feeling it, ain't no chance in hell any person in the room is going to feel it because they're going to be lost with me being lost. First, I have to go there. So then if everybody else wants to tune into that channel and go there, they'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll go there with you. Or maybe that doesn't work for them and they're not feeling sunshiny little kid run on the beach, rum, wind, feel, suntan, sweaty. Maybe they're not feeling like that right now. And that's cool.
But they can ingest it in a different way, and that's one of the most powerful things about
it. Yeah, they make their own, they take their own take on it, right? But I have to go there first. Any musician knows if you don't go there first, the audience isn't going to go there, man.
Right. Yeah.
There's no chance, right?
Yeah. Is that all those things that you describe specifically using that any sort of grouping of ideas or sensations you're trying to tap into when you're playing a song? Does that stem from a place that you were when you wrote the song? You knowing that you need to get back to there?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe not from the kernel of the song, maybe not from the beginning origin of the song, from what the song became.
Right.
Because it became clear after I started playing it, say, so many times, they're like, oh, this is a happy breakup song.
Right.
That's what this is. This is supposed to be like, it's not happy because we broke up. It's just happy, ironically, and it's a breakup song. It's got to have that thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you take a similar approach in your writing process as you do to sort of the executing, like the play when you're playing, in terms of sort of? I guess my question is, do you write from a place of emotion, or do you feel like you write from a place of intellect?
Oh, there's one thing that's been consistent with every song or ad-lib solo in a jazz thing. There's one thing that's been consistent. That when it starts, whether it's a solo in a jazz gig or whether it's I'm sitting in a room with all my stuff and I got this thing percolating in me, I want to try and personify that percolating thing, put it into words, almost like whether you're in a car or walking or on a road, and you can see when I get closer to that, I'm going to see what that is. And I know that I just have to walk a little more, drive a little bit more, and keep going in that direction, and that thing's going to start to manifest. And that's how the song is the same thing. Maybe the song, in that case, that particular song that I mentioned, just to stay focused, make it easy, had this feeling inside me that I was sad and happy because I realized that the only way at that time in my life I was going to feel joy was if I told that person in my life, we have to stop. This is not right. This is not right. And ironically, as sad as I feel that this is not right, and I've burned 1.5 years of my life to realize that that wasn't right, there's this amazing weight that's coming off my shoulders.
Right.
And I'm walking into the abyss. And that's that sunshine walk on, be in the water, be a kid on the sand feeling. And so all I had to do is keep walking towards that. And the words will come and the melodies will come. And I just have to get out of the way of myself. Doesn't matter what I did earlier in the day. Doesn't matter who said that to me. Doesn't matter who cut me off on the road. Doesn't matter what my job needs me to do later tonight. Right now, it's that feeling. And that's all that matters until that goes away.
Do you start with lyrics?
It's never the same.
Never the same. Just
Yeah,
goes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's never the same. Sometimes it's lyrics, sometimes it's melody, sometimes it's a feeling. Sometimes it's a concept where I feel like, oh man, I really need something that has this dirty drunk. How am I going to find dirty drunk? Because that's a cool feeling.
You're a Tom Waits fan?
I do. He has a great interview, by the way. There's one of his
He's brilliant.
like late 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Is
Have you
early-
seen Coffee and Cigarettes? It's a Jim Jarmusch film.
No.
Jim Jarmusch. That's him and Iggy Pop. That's Iggy Pop, right? Yeah. Yeah.
No, I haven't.
It's the funniest fucking scene. It's so funny because they're both playing themselves,
Oh, okay.
and it's a film by Jim Jarmusch, and it's all short segments.
Okay.
It's all filmed in black and white about coffee and cigarettes. And
Okay.
the scene is just the two of them in a coffee shop, like basically flexing, like musician fame.
Boasting and
boasting.
Oh, okay.
But it's really funny, and they ended. It's like, well, your songs aren't on the jukebox either, and it's a really funny interaction.
Yeah.
You should watch it.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
It's the only time I've ever referenced it, but it's great. It's
Okay,
great.
before I leave, I'm going to write that down because I'll watch that.
In terms of speaking of writing things down, this is a question I love to ask musicians. Do you, or composing musicians, do you have a file on your phone or an old school like audio recorder that's just like voice memos of you like walking and being like, oh, that's a great lick, I can't forget that, and then just like humming a ditty or like a line or a beatbox or a throat singing, which is also something you should do that we should talk about.
So yes, and it's of course as the technology opportunities have changed, so has that opportunity or
Right,
choice.
it's so
or device.
much easier to do it.
Yeah, I mean now you can do it right on your phone, and fairly good quality, especially for just remembering an idea or a concept, or even presenting to the band. Here's a song, and you just record it on your phone. So the latest is literally that device because it's so fast. It's right in my hand. It's in my pocket. And yeah, it is that. I'll be walking. I'll be driving. I'll be sitting. Whatever. And an idea will come. It could be words. It could be a melody. It could
Not
be,
driving. He doesn't play with his phone and drive.
and what? I don't drive and write songs on my phone with no hands on the wheel. Who would do that?
Anyone that knows how to drive.
I mean, if I can eat and drive,
Yeah, exactly.
who does that? Yeah. So yes, there's always been a device of one form or another. All the way. I mean, the oldest device would have been just a tape deck.
Yeah.
Back in the '90s, because that's what I would have is a tape deck, and then of course back then you'd buy this little recording stick or something. It was, basically, it's what you do on your phone now, but it'd be a stick that just has so much, memory, and you could talk into it or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I remember having, and I wasn't using him for recording my own ideas. I was much, I think I'm about 5-10 years younger than you. How old?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm
There
a
we go.
vampire, so it
There
doesn't
we go.
count. But go on.
So I was a kid in the 90s, and I remember having stacks and stacks and stacks of mixtapes, like the Maxwell 90-minute mixtapes, with
Yeah.
like the money ones that, you get a whole 90 fucking minutes, bro.
Yeah.
It was
Yep.
it was very cool.
Yeah, I still have 2 boxes, rather large boxes of tapes that I've just.
I wish I still had my tapes. It was before MP3s replaced CDs fully. Like I was still buying CDs at concerts as opposed to like looking for vinyls or T-shirts.
Yeah.
I still, listened to them in the car. I still had all my CD wallets, and I was just young and a little bit more transient. And I was like, I don't need to carry around the fucking tapes. They're dead technology. And I had so many good tapes. Not only did I have like so many good tapes that I bought or were given to me, But I had all these mixtapes that I had made, and not all of them were good because I started making mixtapes when I was like 9.
Yeah.
But I made them all for like the next 10 years of my life. I would make mixtapes to pass the time. One of my favorite scenes in cinema is from High Fidelity, when John Cusack talks about the art of making a mixtape.
Yes.
And it's such a great speech, and that movie's great as well. But I really do. I've talked about this on the show before. I really do think there's a lost art of making a mixtape,
Sure.
because you had to listen to it while you made it.
Yes.
You couldn't. I mean, yeah. When high-speed dubbing came out from tape deck to tape deck, you could listen to it like the Chipmunks.
Yeah.
And you could do it a little bit faster, but you actually had to curate a list. Now you can just like make a playlist.
Yeah, and it'll drop it in.
And that's enough me ranting about mixtapes. But it's funny. I actually found 4 or 5 blank mixtapes at my dad's old property. My dad sold his house to my brother about 3 or 4 years ago. And there was a bunch of just like random stuff in corners that were, belonged to all the siblings. And I found 4 or 5 blank audio tapes. And I have one friend that still makes tapes. And I was like, I'm going to give these to this person. And he was like, this is the best gift I've had in years. Anyway.
Yeah. My lady, I don't think she realizes how cool this was, but she was at a music store recently, which still exists, thank God. And she bought a Tragically Hip album for me, Up to Here.
Up to Here, great album.
On CD. Which, I mean, we can all look it up right now, pop it up right now. Here it is.
Yeah.
And it'll show up, and you could put it on it's in my pocket, so to speak, right? But she bought me the CD, and I have a vehicle that still has a CD player. So I'm like, well, I'm going to put it in. I admit, though I play music and I'm a musician so much in my life, I admit I don't use the CD player in my truck except for mixing my own music, where I need to check my music, and then I'll check it in my
the car stereo check.
To check levels and it make sure it actually plays in a car in a nice way. All the things you're looking for. So she gave me this disc, put it in my truck, and just by chance that day is a lot of traffic, so I actually heard the whole CD in one sitting. I mean, I was joking with her. Of course, I wasn't texting and driving. I was joking with her, saying, I think I'm going to finish the whole CD in this one drive. But one of the things I forgot, which is so good.
The joy of listening to an album.
Oh my God, to just put it in, let it fly.
Let it listen from start to finish.
Oh, there's a reason they put it together that way.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really good. It's really good all the way up to, and those odd moments where they just finish that, track, and guitarist is still taking his fingers off the guitar, and you can hear him taking the slide off the guitar. Like all those moments where you're like, oh my God,
it was intentional.
It's brilliant. Yeah. And I forgot, and now all of a sudden, because I still have a CD collection, which it's one thing to punch it up.
Mine's in storage.
Oh, is it?
I've got a CD collection still in storage.
One of ours is
can't bring myself to throw them away.
One of mine's a lamp, and it's like there's a bunch of them still on there, and I just left it there, But I mean, I can look this stuff up. I can punch it up on my iPad. I can do whatever, Bluetooth it in. Yeah, sure, I can do that. But there's something different, and I don't know how to.
Yeah, the only way that I have a very small vinyl collection that I haven't been able to listen to recently because I've got a turntable that works perfectly that is not compatible with my soundbar.
Just a minute. Okay.
And it drives me fucking batty because I spent like $150 on adapters to like try to get it all to work, and the preamp and everything. And it just, for some reason, it goes from analog to where it goes from analog to digital with the converter. It won't receive it.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to listen to it.
It's a phono thing.
Which is frustrating, but there's that sensation of going through your collection of music, the collection of music that was either gifted to you or you made an effort to purchase. Whether or not you were, I remember being a kid in the record store or CD store, and I'd go in and I'd have my gift certificate. And from 10 to 16, maybe 17, I spent every cent that basically before I started doing drugs, I spent every cent that I had on CDs and fucking Slurpees. Post 17, it was drugs and cigarettes, but that's another story. So, but being able to sit down with a record collection that you personally have curated, or when you have like people over and selecting an album, and knowing that like, yes, this is the album that I want to listen to, and having that, like, I love having the access to music because I've always loved music so much, and it's like, yeah, I didn't buy that Ray Charles album, but I would really like to hear that Ray Charles album right now. But that feeling of picking out an album that you bought and putting it on and listening to it from start to finish, or even listening to it the first time, is something that we don't do anymore. And it's something that
it's a thing
that a generation that exists now
it's not going to get,
doesn't know. And it's just such, and yeah, there's access to different things and there's benefits to everything, but I miss that sensation. And it's funny you talk about getting that Up to Here album that was a gift, and listening to the whole album, and those little things that remind us of how we used to consume music in that way. And I love going making sure that I go back to it. Like right now, most of the time when I put on music, I'll just put shit on shuffle, my phone on shuffle, and I'll just skip a song that I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
But when I actually like make the effort to like pick out an album and put it on, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Okay, I got to tell a record story. Can I tell a record story?
Yes.
So during the madness, when we weren't allowed to do anything, right, a couple of years ago, I was doing my workouts to records. So, and my workout's only 25 minutes long or something. It's a maintenance workout. So all I do, right? So it's one side of a record, basically, give or take, right? A couple minutes more or less. So I went through my entire record collection, which at the time was only about that much, right? And I went, well,
a milk crate and a half for people listening, by the way.
Yeah, about that much, whatever that is. And I just put it out on social media. I do workouts to records. Anybody getting rid of records, I'll gladly come get them.
Right.
And I ended up with almost 3 boxes as wide as this table. Like I got a lot of records in a matter of days. So of course there's the immediate weeding through those, going, okay, this is
I don't need K-pops, thanks guys.
Well, not even that, as much as like
and I have Eagles' greatest hits. Everyone has Eagles' greatest hits.
But there were a few that were really cool. Like there was like a Billy Joel Glass Houses, but he took it out and it's completely scratched.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't. And there was a beautiful Elton John one, and I'm like, that's all scratched. I can't. So those ones, you get rid of whatever, and you do what you have to do. So, but this. I don't know if you or anybody's going to share the excitement. This felt like a gift. Those were all a gift to start with because I got them. People just gave them away, and I went and got them. Like, yeah, right, awesome. So, and I found. Can I take another minute? I gotta unpack it a bit more.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Prior to this moment in time, I had saved a Nat King Cole album. Not like I was going to listen to it one day, and when I finally took it out, ironically, it's exactly what you said. It was actually the Chipmunks in a Nat King Cole album. The Nat King Cole cover, but the record inside.
The record was Chipmunks?
Was the Chipmunks.
Why are there so many Chipmunks vinyls?
It happens, right? And it's literally what you said. And so that was a joke with me and my lady, and we had this Nat King Cole album sitting on our coffee table because there wasn't the Nat King Cole.
It's just decoration.
It was just funny at that point, yeah. But I really wanted,
that album.
Okay, so in one of the boxes that I got, another Nat King Cole album shows up. And it's not Chipmunks, but it's once again another artist inside a Nat King Cole cover. And I'm looking at it and I told my lady, I'm like, this is ridiculous. What is the deal with Nat King Cole and not
left in the record player? Right. Someone was listening.
So one of the boxes I got of the stash of records, I pull out and what looks like a brand new Nat King Cole album. Okay.
Like, don't even want to open it at that point.
When I pull it out, it's still got the paper what's it called, sleeve inside, and the corners are still folded on the paper sleeve. I'm like, what? And I take it out. Now I'm being really careful, and I open it up, and it is pristine, crisp, clean, There's nothing wrong with this record. And it's the heavy grade, like some of them are thinner and some are thicker. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Right? It's the heavier grade record. Not like a 72, but it's a heavy grade LP. And I get goosebumps. And I look in. Now, I can't remember the numbers. I think Nat King Cole, I think he did 23 albums. He did 21 or 23. I can't remember. I'm too short of his entire collection, pristine, brand new, untouched, never played Nat King Cole records. And I'm at a loss. I'm telling my lady, I'm like, do you realize how freaking cool this is?
Yeah.
You can't find this. Like, they're pristine. And when you put them on, you feel that time, that window when Nat King Cole, you feel it. You're like, oh my God, this is magical. That with like a glass of scotch or something, you're like, this is, what else do I got to do the next hour? I just got to do this, man. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I had to.
No, that's a good story. Yeah, I love record finds. Like I remember when I was it's funny too, because there was that period when tapes were dying, and CDs took over. It was right around the same time that Laserdisc came out.
I remember those. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
And records, because people had kind of thought records had gone the way of the 8-track. But during that time, you could go into record. I think it was record players were really, really expensive because the only people using turntables were professional DJs.
Yeah.
Because at the time, most DJs. This was before DJs were basically using computers.
Yeah.
Now you go into a lot of. It's like an art form now. DJs who are vinyl DJs.
Yeah.
A lot of the EDM festivals and stuff like that. They're all working digitally. They're all working with computers. Yeah. It's a completely different art form. So while that was happening, the only record players you couldn't find a record player. You had to buy a turntable. You had to buy you couldn't get one for less than $400.
Yeah.
But records you could find for dirt fucking cheap because everyone was clearing out their fucking basements.
Yeah.
So you go into a thrift store. I got Led Zeppelin's first 4 albums at thrift stores for 25 cents. I don't know if they weren't original.
Still have those?
I don't know if I still have all of them, because this is funny too, because I went through I grew up Christian, and I went through like a very zealotous phase.
Sure.
About 15, where like all secular music was evil.
Sure.
And this was when like teenagers were having like CD burning parties where they'd show up to the school and like burn the secular CDs that their parents had fucking paid for. The youth pastor's like, bring all your secular music to church and burn it. I didn't do that because there was a part of me that I think there was a kernel of me that knew it was bullshit. So I gave them to my brother instead so that I wouldn't listen to like evil music.
Sure.
But then his dog fucking ate them all. But anyway, like during that time, I found like a whole bunch of, and they were a quarter a pop because thrift stores couldn't get rid of them because no one wanted them. And then that shifted, that culture shifted, whereas CDs kind of died away, and vinyls got trendy again. Now you go to a concert, and most concert that you go to, there'll be like if you go to the Commodore or go to the Rickshaw or they'll be selling vinyl,
a vinyl version, yeah.
And you can get a record player for dirt cheap again, but vinyls are fucking insanely expensive. So that same 25-cent record that I could buy 15, 20 years ago,
a couple of zeros.
That thing is now like you walk in and you can't get any, specifically we'll say Led Zeppelin, you can't get a Led Zeppelin record, a brand new pressing. It's not even original. Yeah, it's just like
it's a fresh new press.
There's a fresh new press. It's $50.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. But I do like that vinyls are.
There's a thing.
There's a thing because I actually do have a lot of from the Napster generation and the torrent generation, when everything all of a sudden you were just like exposed to everything and you could get everything for free
everywhere, anytime,
everywhere,
wherever.
And it didn't matter. I thought, as a young person, I obviously didn't really think about the ramifications of what that would do. And it's obviously like I don't mind not paying for Led Zeppelin's music, like I don't really care. But I think there's a lot of disconnect for how people consume music.
I'm listening.
Towards how people who play music afford to feed themselves. So I do like the idea of purchasing music, but I don't want to buy a CD.
Okay.
Because I don't have a CD player. I'd much rather buy the vinyl.
Okay.
So I love when I go to concerts and they've got vinyls for sale. I always try to pick up a couple vinyls. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
You're like, I fucking hate you. I still make CDs.
No, because it's different. It's different. It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
I got it. Can I tell another story?
Absolutely.
Okay. It was actually at Guilt. A fellow comes up to me at the last gig we're playing, and this is rare. This is a wonderful, rare moment in time. And he says to me, "Do you have a minute?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So this is like between second, third set, first set. I can't remember what it was. And he comes. We go backstage, and his wife come over. He goes, "I have to tell you a story." He says. First, he starts off telling me he had his accident with this car, and I felt very bad for him. He says, "No, we're okay, but it involved me getting a rental car." So I got the rental car, and turn it on, and I go, and the radio comes on, and a CD is playing. There was a CD in the player, and it's you. And I didn't know you, but I really liked it, and we discerned from him telling me it was actually the third album, so it was in the player. It was already in the rental car. Okay, so somebody bought my
your CD
on a rental car situation and left it there for whatever, either on purpose or by accident, and he picked it up and he got it. So he got it, and he made a point of showing it to his wife and his daughters, and they all loved it, and he thought I was from New Orleans. Just based on the style of the album.
Yeah.
And he was, digging it, listening to it. Okay, great. And he never thought to check or think that I'm in Vancouver, that I live here, that he happens to live here. He never thought to check any of that. The only reason he was at the gig was because his wife had a hard day. They were nearby, and he said, "Well, let's go to Guilt and catch some live music and have a meal." And walk in, and they heard me playing. It's all circumstance. Yeah. And it's all him going, "Hey, that's the guy on the CD that we kept from the rental car." It's all chance. The entire thing is all chance. Yeah. And he told me, and I got goosebumps. I'm like, dude, from a CD.
From a CD.
And then I thought about it, and I thought about it long and hard. And I remember being in Whistler, and someone in Whistler saying, "Yeah, I got a rental car, but the rental car has CDs. I'll take a CD."
Right.
Like I remember that conversation going, "Oh yeah, I guess rental cars might still have CD players." And it has to be that person, or maybe was that person. I don't know. But
that's cool.
But it's neat, right? It was neat. It's not that CDs are
okay, god damn it, now I want to go get my CD collection.
Well, it's not that they're coming back or anything like that, but I just don't think I don't know. I think people, I don't know what the future's going to bring.
Did you ever have a multi-disc changer?
Yeah.
Like
yeah, I think I still have I had it up until about 6 years ago, 6 years ago, and it finally died.
For at home, or?
Yeah, it was a home job.
How many?
5 or 6 on a rotation.
Yeah, on the rotation. Those are the ones that I grew up with. Yeah. We had those in my house too. But I remember my uncle, who's I don't know if he actually even knows that I do this, but Uncle Dave, if you're watching, this is a story about you.
Hey, Dave.
He just loves music. We go over to his place and all he wants to do is play music. And he's been playing music. He's all his life, right? And he was, when he's younger, he sounded just like Jim Morrison, and then he got into country, and his record collection is massive. But I remember he showed up at our place when I was about 13 years old, and he stayed with us for 5-6 months. And he brought with him his 500 disc CD changer.
What?
Yeah, it was insane.
A physical unit that
had 500 discs, and it was just like you.
That's a jukebox.
It was basically a jukebox, Yeah, and it was hooked up in our house for a while.
Physically big, like
It was like yay big because it was a big spindle inside.
Dude, that's crazy.
It was just a big, yeah, it was nuts. Because I remember when I got, like, when I was probably 16 or 17 at the time, and I was driving the family van, and I was annoyed that it only had of the technology that it has. Like, nah, man, we didn't put CDs in this thing. And so I bought a 10-disc changer. And at the time, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. It's like, you could put 10 CDs in here, man. 10 CDs.
I've seen, there's a picture, you could find it. There's a picture out there of Muhammad Ali's Cadillac. And in his Cadillac is you place a 45 record in it.
Oh, really?
Like a CD. I never clued in how they got the needle to stay on the 45 while you're driving.
Yeah.
Because obviously there must be some sort of pressure that's holding it down or floating it somehow. Because like you're driving in a car, man, the thing's gonna skip. But it's literally it plays 45 records, and it was
whose Cadillac was this?
It was Muhammad Ali's.
Muhammad Ali's Cadillac.
It's mounted under his dash. And you'd literally put in a record. I'm like, okay, that.
I love the excessive purchases of rich people.
Yeah,
I would be 10 times worse than any story I've ever heard. But like, I'm going to fly to somewhere in Europe to buy a $3,000 donut this morning. Boom, boom. I would totally do it. Because we're talking about CDs, are all 5 of your albums purchasable through your website?
So this is what it is. So the website's set up like this. All 5 albums. Yes, you can listen.
Which is just DinoDenicolo.com.
DinoDenicolo.com.
Right? Yeah.
All 5 albums are through CD Baby. But here's what's happened. If you want the hard copy, CD Baby stopped selling the hard copies. So right now, the only hard copies you can get is through me. But all of it's on Spotify. So
yeah, and it's on Apple Music as well, right?
It's on Apple Music as well. I'm all for equally getting ripped off like every other artist.
Yeah,
I'm up there with everybody else.
It's funny.
We're all getting screwed together.
I saw an album, your first album. There's a copy of your first CD on sale on Amazon for $75.
The white one?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my!
I was like, that's got to be a vinyl. Maybe he needed like one pressing. I almost bought it. And I was like, no, it's a CD.
No, dude, no. What? Okay, that's crazy.
Which is probably not you, so it's not even.
Well, if it's the album, the white one, the beautiful. If it's that one, it's that one.
But I mean, is that? Would you even get that money?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't see any of that. No, I don't see any of that.
That's just someone selling their album on Amazon.
Yeah, or
I don't know.
Amazon has one collection, one left, and they know they can do that, and they're holding it in their warehouse, and they're gonna, or they don't have it. I don't know. I don't know how Amazon works. To be honest with you,
I don't know. I just bend over and take it.
I don't know.
But so yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, all 5 albums available.
Yeah, it's all off. Yeah, just go to the website because it's all there. And I mean, I know nobody wants to buy CDs long distance anymore. It's just not there. If they're at a show, they'll buy a CD. Other than that, it's all Spotify. So
yeah,
I'll see it. I'm happy and I feel honored to say that I'll play a gig, and if the gig goes really well, I'll get a notification from Spotify within a few days. Your listeners has gone up this week or whatever. Because all of a sudden, everybody that might have been inspired to maybe check out the stuff, they'll go to Spotify and have a listen and check it out. And I'm like, oh, wicked, cool, awesome.
Yeah. Well, for everyone listening, I really do encourage you to check those out because he's got 5 albums on Spotify and they're all fucking awesome. That's my official review. Fucking awesome. Also, if you check out your website, DinoDenicolo.com, you can see upcoming show dates. You have, I think, mid-April, you've got a Dino DeNicolo show at Guilt and Company.
No, the next Guilt one's July 1st. It's going to be.
But you're with Uno Mas.
Uno Mas has one coming up. Yeah,
you've got with Uno Mas before that.
Yeah, there's an Uno Mas before that.
Yeah, and you can see those dates on your website, also at guiltandcompany.com. But yeah,
the July 1st one, if it comes together, because it's Canada Day, because it's Jazz Fest, because it's Guilt and Co, and I love you guys at Guilt. It's just amazing. I've hired my engineer from Lion's Head Production, Crispin Hans, to come in and record the evening with the intent of making a live album. I've given the band 6 new songs with the intent.
Just audio?
So he does the audio. He's like to actually make an album, a live album. So that's
awesome.
July 1st.
But we should, if you want, we should talk about getting the video for you as well.
Yes, that's actually the next talk after we turn off all these cameras to talk to you about that, right? Because I want at least photos at a very minimum so that I can put them together to make something nice out of it. But the intent is to record it and have a live album. You never know until you get there because there's a lot of variables. There's so many cables and personal egos and performances. And were we drunk or sober? Did you get those parts? Or there's so many variables. But that's the intent because it's such a big night and it's Jazz Fest too, and it's Guilt and Co. I've got 15 new songs and they're all working. But I'm not gonna go in and start a whole new album yet because at the moment, my favorite guy is Crispin to record with. And if I can't get him, I'm at a loss right now. Ben Kaplan's awesome. I haven't thought further to talk about recording all these albums in a studio situation, but definitely I want to do it July 1st.
Sweet.
So I'm ramping it up.
Awesome. I'm going to, can I give you one tiny little splash?
It better be really small.
Really tiny. Really,
no, officer, I haven't been drinking
just enough for a sip.
mezcal in the middle of the afternoon. Get out of my car.
Yeah, I don't promote drinking and driving, so thank you for being.
No, drinking, driving, and texting and all that stuff.
Yeah, drinking and texting is fucking fine. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Dino DeNiccolo. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you.